The cold wind swept down the narrow streets of Brooklyn as James Carter wiped the grease from his hands and leaned against the rusted hood of an old Chevy. The garage smelled of motor oil, metal, and memories, some he'd rather forget. At 39, James wasn't exactly living the dream. He worked alone in a one-man auto shop he inherited from his late uncle, buried in the back end of Red Hook, where no one came unless they were desperate or lost. And James liked it that way. No friends, no visitors, no questions. He preferred the silence, the hum of the tools, the rumble of an engine. They didn't expect anything from him, unlike people. But life has a strange way of knocking on your door, even when it's a 5-year-old with a busted toy. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. James had just finished tightening the final bolt on a transmission when he heard the bell above the shop door jingle. He frowned. He hadn't expected anyone. When he turned, he saw a little boy, no taller than the tire he had just rolled to the corner, standing with wild curls and flushed cheeks. In his tiny hands was a broken toy truck. One wheel dangled and the hood was barely hanging on. "Can you fix this?" the boy asked, holding it out with hope in his big brown eyes. James blinked. "Kid, where's your mom?" "She's at the laundromat," the boy said. "I saw the garage open. I thought, maybe you fix cars, you can fix trucks too." James looked around. He wasn't good with kids. Hell, he wasn't good with people. But the way the boy clutched the toy, his fingers smudged with dirt, reminded James of someone he used to be, someone who once believed in fixing things. He sighed. "All right, let me see it." The boy's eyes lit up like Times Square on New Year's Eve. He scrambled up onto an old stool as James pulled a toolbox closer. "What's your name, kid?" "Eli." "You talk a lot, Eli?" "No," the boy said. "Only to nice people." James almost chuckled. As he worked, Eli watched with fascination, asking questions now and then about gears and glue and why some trucks made noise and others didn't. His curiosity was innocent, unfiltered, and slowly, something inside James began to soften. He didn't know why he was doing it. Maybe it was the way Eli smiled. Maybe it was the quiet sincerity in his voice. Maybe James just needed to fix something he knew he could. 20 minutes later, the truck looked almost brand new. James handed it back, and Eli clutched it to his chest. "Thanks, mister," he beamed. "You're better than Santa." James snorted. "Don't let Santa hear that." The boy gave a small wave and ran off down the sidewalk, disappearing around the corner like a whisper in the wind. James figured that was it, but it wasn't. The next day, Eli was back, this time with a toy robot missing a leg, then a race car with no wheels, then a stuffed bear with a torn ear. Each visit, James fixed it, and each time Eli stayed a little longer, telling James stories about his school, his favorite cartoons, his mom's favorite song, and how he wanted to be an astronaut when he grew up. James never said much in return, but he listened. And sometimes listening was more powerful than speaking. Days turned to weeks. Eli became a regular part of James's afternoons. He'd show up after school, dragging his little backpack and wearing his oversized coat, grinning like the world made sense. And one snowy evening, James finally asked, "Where's your dad, kid?" Eli was quiet. He traced a line in the dust on the counter. "He left when I was a baby. Mom says he wasn't ready." James nodded slowly. He knew that kind of story. "Doesn't matter," Eli added with a shrug. "Mom's awesome. And I got you now." The words hit James harder than any car accident ever could. Me, he thought. What do I know about being someone's got you? But from that day, something shifted. James started closing the shop a little earlier. He cleared a space in the back for Eli's visits, put a heater, brought snacks, and even found some old tools Eli could pretend with. He started looking forward to 3:30 p.m. like it was some sacred hour. The world outside didn't change, but something in James did. He smiled more. He laughed sometimes. He slept better, but the peace didn't last. One cold Thursday, Eli didn't show up. James waited. 5 minutes, 10:30. He told himself not to worry. Maybe his mom picked him up early. Maybe they had plans. But the next day, still no Eli. And the day after that, nothing. The silence felt heavier than it used to. On the 4th day, James did something he hadn't done in years. He left the shop early and went looking. He walked down to the laundromat Eli had mentioned. A woman behind the counter recognized the boy immediately. "You mean Eli?" "Yeah, sweet kid. His mom's name is Maria." James nodded. "You know where they live?" The woman hesitated. "They had to leave. Rent got too high. I think she lost her job." They were staying at a shelter on 4th Street last I heard. James felt his stomach knot. A shelter? He followed the direction she gave, and after an hour of knocking, asking, walking in the cold, he found them, Maria and Eli, sitting on a worn bench inside a dimly lit shelter lobby. Eli's toy truck clutched tight in his lap, the paint chipping now but still running. Maria stood when she saw James, her eyes cautious. She was in her early 30s, with tired eyes and a kindness that hadn't been hardened by struggle yet. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "He didn't mean to bother you. I told him not to go there anymore." "He wasn't bothering me," James said. "He was helping me." Maria looked surprised. James turned to Eli. "You okay, buddy?" Eli nodded but didn't smile. James knelt beside him. "I missed my mechanic in training." Eli finally gave a weak grin. "We didn't know if you'd want us anymore." James looked at Maria, then back at Eli. "I don't want you to disappear like that again." There was a long pause. Then James did something even he didn't see coming. "I've got space above the shop. Small but warm. You can stay until you figure things out." Maria looked stunned. "Why would you do that?" James stood slowly, meeting her eyes. "Because someone once gave me a second chance. I blew it, but maybe this is mine." They moved in that weekend. Eli had a real bed again. Maria got a part-time job at a nearby diner. And James? He stopped running from his past. He even framed a photo of his daughter, the one he lost in a car crash 7 years ago, the one he stopped talking about, the one who would have been 5 years old, the year Eli walked in with that broken toy truck. Sometimes family doesn't come from blood. Sometimes it comes from a busted toy and a little boy with a simple question. And sometimes, when life gives you a second chance, it's not to fix the past. It's to build a future.